Check sound check 1 2 3. This is Vet Chat. Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is about to kick off. We've got special guests Stefan returning, with the new special guest Don, who is featured in the book Instinctive Measures in Chapter 9 and a few other places. Come on down our rabbit hole. This should be an interesting night. Sound check 1 2 3.
Bring the action. When you hear us in the club, you gotta turn shit up. You gotta turn shit up. You gotta turn shit up. When we up in the club, all eyes on us. All eyes on us. All eyes on us. See the boys in the club. They watching us. They watching us. They watching us. Everybody in the club. All eyes on us. All eyes on us. All eyes on us. I wanna scream and shout and let it all out. And scream and shout and let it out. We're saying oh we oh we oh we oh. We're saying oh we oh we oh we oh. I wanna scream and shout and let it all out. And scream and shout and let it out. We're saying oh we oh we oh we oh. Now rocking with Leo and Britney, bitch. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Bring the action. Rock and roll. Everybody let's lose control. Underwater we let it go. Go fast, you ain't going slow. Low, hey, yo. Hear the beat, now let's hit the flow. Drink it up and then drink some more. Light it up and let's let it blow. Blow, boom, hey, yo. Rock it out and rock it now. If you know what we talking about. Turn it up and burn down the house. Hey, yo. Turn it up and go turn it down. Here we go shake it down. Cause everywhere that we go, we bring the action. When you hear us in the club, you gotta turn the shit up. You gotta turn the shit up. You gotta turn the shit up. We'll be up in the club. All eyes on us. All eyes on us. All eyes on us. See the boys in the club. They watching us. They watching us. They watching us. Everybody in the club. All eyes on us. All eyes on us. All eyes on us. I wanna scream and shout and let it all out. And scream and shout and let it out. We're saying why, yo, yo, yo. We're saying why, yo, yo, yo. I wanna scream and shout and let it all out. And scream and shout and let it out. We're saying why, yo, yo, yo. We're saying why, yo, yo, yo. Scream and shout. superhuman. Someone save me from the heat. Just another war. Just another family torn. We're falling from our feet today. Just a step from the edge. Just another day in the world we live. I need a hero. I need a hero. I need a hero to save my life. A hero will save me just in time. I've got to fight today to live another day. Speaking my mind today. I've got to make a stand, but I am just a man. My voice will be heard today. Just another war. Just another family torn. We're falling from our feet today. It's just another kill. The countdown begins to destroy ourselves. I need a hero. I need a hero. I need a hero to save my life. A hero will save me just in time. I need a hero to save my life. I need a hero just in time. Save me just in time. Save me just in time. Who's gonna fight for what's right? Who's gonna help us survive? We're in the fight of our lives, and we're not ready to die. Who's gonna fight for the weak? Who's gonna make up believe? I've got a hero, living in me. I've gotta fight for what's right. Today I'm speaking my mind, and if it kills me tonight, I will be ready to die. A hero's not afraid to give his life. A hero's gonna save me just in time. I need a hero to save me now. I need a hero. I need a hero. A hero will save me just in time. I need a hero. I need a hero. I need a hero. A hero's gonna save me just in time.
Hey, thank you, Ascension, so much for the subby W. That's how you start a show off, right? Look at those beautiful, beautiful gold spades out there. Oh, yeah! and shotgun to the guy who was repairing. He looked at me while I was satcheling.
Hope you like pineapples, motherfucker.
Yes, it's true. When we're not diving for democracy or committing war crimes in Panther tanks, we're doing a podcast, and that podcast is called Vet Chat, where we take people from around the world, different branches, toss them in a chat room, and see what happens. So, welcome. This is Vet Chat.
Sit and wait. Hey,
You're live, everybody. Welcome to the show.
there we go.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. How
Hey,
y'all
Josh.
doing tonight? So it's me, Josh the
Yeah.
Roji, and we've got GOODFELLAzk, one of our long-standing co-hosts. Returning is
Hello.
Stefan Beardwood, the author of Instinctive Measures. And appearing for the first time, Don, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Don McMoyle.
Outstanding. Where did you serve and what did you do?
I served from 91 to 93. I was a naval signalman.
Awesome. Navy. Good fella immediately.
Yeah.
Hand signing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
It's
outstanding.
just all gibberish and what up?
Hang loose. I understood the hang loose. Or the jumbo. Turn it around.
That's shoots, bro. Second shift gonna do it.
That's funny. So how was everybody's weekend, life so far? Good.
Mine's been extremely busy with kids and grandkids, and that's all good.
Easter weekends and whatnot.
Yeah. Week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that.
We were talking about, of course, one of the topics we were talking about before the show got started was injuries and getting paid for them. How did the conversation evolve once I left?
We just kind of shut up, actually.
Ah,
Well,
Yeah.
it's nice to know you're
looked into
needed.
Yeah, we're like, oh, we'll save that for a little bit. It's like, yeah, okay, yep. Well,
We're having a good podcast and we're
yeah, that's
saying
my
all the
dog
good
now.
talking points. Not even live yet. So Don, you appear in Instinctive Measures. Did you want to discuss that at all?
Sure. To be honest, I don't really remember what got written. But I do know the basic concept. It was a while ago that I saw the draft of it, so my mind isn't quite
From what I
up
read,
to
you
date on it.
didn't have an atypical experience in the armed forces or the Royal Canadian Navy specifically. And yeah, whatever you're comfortable talking about, we can segue off whatever. And if you want to talk about what you did in the Navy, and we'll go from there.
I joined the military because I wanted to become a doctor.
Okay.
I had this desire to help people, heal people, to be a part of something bigger. And I look at it all now, and like, despite everything that happened to me, I am a part of something bigger. So I've actually manifested everything I ever wanted, just not the way I wanted it. If that makes any sense at all.
I think that's a commonality amongst everybody in this room right now.
Absolutely.
That's one of the comments I think I made about Dawn is that, she, in one respect, could have gone on for a brilliant career. She clearly would have made a great leader. And in fact, she did anyway. She just didn't do it through the military. She did it despite the military.
Right.
And the best part was when like, my chief called me a bunch of names, told me I was a little bitch and I was never amount to nothing, and all this whole thing that he said to me. And then when I got top student, he had to like shake my hand and do like,
Yes.
Our sailors are built a little differently, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I see the U.S. Navy chief going, huh?
But it's like
Yeah.
calling names. It's like okay, and then it's like, and then the down negative. You know, it's like, you know, me and like probably my best chief before I made it right. Me and him would yell at each other like constantly. To the point where somebody would walk by, you know, middle level, and we'd just be sitting there yelling about something, just not even arguing, just yelling at each other. Uh, and then somebody walked by, like, "Hey, you guys okay? Like, get out of here. We're just talking about the week.
We're just
We're talking
communicating.
about how good our weekend was. Leave us alone."
Yeah, people from the outside watching veterans have conversations can sometimes get lost really fast as to what they're
Oh my
doing, why
god, yeah.
they're doing it. So, but for
Even
some reason, we don't have a problem discerning the difference.
It's like he gave me a day off to stop being nice once because I was freaking him out by being overly nice.
so he's like, go home.
We were like underway, and it was like, "Dude, are you okay? You're being nice right now. Are you okay? Do we need to do we need to like take you out of the log right now or something?"
Having a psychological episode.
Well, I can tell you, Joss, one of the things that I chased after Dawn and her story for was because of her firsthand experience in divisional reporting. So when you are injured, whether it's a mental health issue, a physical issue, or whether it's something like assaults and that kind of stuff, when your chain of command has to know their battle strength and weakness for deployment at any given moment.
Yeah.
So there is a divisional reporting, but unfortunately, there's no training on how to properly investigate and report on crimes. So what happens is the person who's the victim of the crime ends up a multiple victim because every time they have to move forward and go up the rank to re-explain what took place, another person does the explaining for you and changes your story somewhat. And so by the time you get 3 or 4 members up the chain of command, there's distortion, there's inaccuracies, there's conversations, and Dawn, she experienced that firsthand, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring in someone with that kind of expertise and knowledge. Um, and there's things that like the thing that bothered me the most, I think, in hearing Dawn's story is that after she was assaulted, she was forced to work with her assaulter.
Really?
And
Oh, and
I
I
don't
was
know, Dawn, I think,
charged for it. I got
yeah,
charged because they took me to the male barracks. So when I reported it and got the rape kit done, and the MPs charged and put on confined to barracks with that guy. And he was in a different room, but I had to stand beside him every hour on the hour and say I was guilty. So I've had so many people tell me it wasn't the actual assault that broke me, it was the secondary traumatization. It's like being re-traumatized over and over and over again. And then even with Veterans Affairs, trying to get assistance, every time I try to get assistance, I have to tell my story. So it's insane the
Yeah.
way
Well, they
you're
expect you.
constantly
They keep
having to rip
expecting
the
you to
Band-Aid off.
re-explain it. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Especially because, like that, it's not just a physical injury. It's not just a psychological injury. It's both. And you've got to, especially with psychological injuries, having to re-explain it every single time, rips that scar wide open again. Now it's a wound again.
Well, there's
until
the
it
moral
scars up
injury,
again.
the complete betrayal as well. Like you think that's your family, you think
Yeah.
they're gonna look after you, and then you get cast aside just because you told the truth.
Mm-hmm.
somebody harmed you and then you're the bad person. And then it reiterates in your whole life. Like you constantly think you go to tell the truth and you get told, oh, that's not, what I think. And then you believe someone else just because you've been so put down over your whole life.
Yep. Oh,
So
entirely.
whenever we have like somebody, like they get assigned like a person that like goes with them, and like somebody from like the command is like their advocate. They're like, they're like confidential like reporting and all that, and like can like go with them and like represent them like throughout like the entire process. Like the command knows like if something happens, like they essentially like uh if something has to like go farther than like those two people, like they're gone, like because that person and that person they're like together. It's a you send a buddy with them. It's
Hmm.
Well, yeah,
but
because we did some things with SMRC, whatever they're called now. So now there's like a victim liaison officer.
yeah,
So someone, you actually get assistance with
yeah,
like filling out your paperwork, going to things. So you're not just on your own, because when a person gets charged, they get an attorney no matter what. Like it's always provided free, whether you can afford one or not. The survivor is left on their own to do so much work plus heal.
yeah.
So I think they're making steps in the right direction. It's just
Mhm.
that I think they got caught up in a lot of other things, and it's sort of,
Yeah, because I wasn't one of the advocates. I was the admin uh over the program. So making sure like our advocates, went to their training, making sure, all the paperwork was in order, making sure the crew like we got all their training, setting up, people coming by to give training, stuff like that. Uh but that was when did we start really doing that? Probably really diving into it probably around 14.
Women were
You know,
serving
the
on
Deschamps
submarines by
report
then,
came
right?
out in 15.
yeah.
So that's an Operation Honor and all of that was 2014, 2015. So
You could just tell us a little bit about
Wow.
the advocacy groups and how the people with firsthand experience surviving trauma kind of are not allowed to be in those advocacy groups.
it's insane.
So the people who need
Some
the
of
group
them
can't
like
be in them.
Atlas, who's supposed to help veterans with PTSD and all of that. When I offered my expertise, which I feel like I have, they told me I was unqualified, needed to go back to school. So they completely
And
dismissed my lived experience and the fact that I'm a nurse and that I've been an advocate for over 25 years.
Hmm.
that's what I'm talking about.
Well, when I got injured, it was a physical injury, and it was in my third course ever, so brand new. So there was no way that young, dumb, and headstrong infantry kid Josh is going to be calling himself injured. No way. I'm just going to shake this off and not wear my helmet for 2 weeks, and I'll be fine. I'll listen to the captain. It's just an injury to my jaw, apparently. I'll just take these here giant orange pills and be fine, right? Enter 20 years later, in just a physical sense, and I have psychological injury from that now because for 2 decades, well, what if I was able to push myself harder as a cop or a firefighter if I didn't have this neck issue? What if I had slept properly for the last 20 years? Maybe I'd be married still. Like there's all these what ifs that come up with a physical injury, let alone when you combine that with a mental or emotional injury as well. And
I think
then,
it's kind of funny because they got such backlash for forcing guys who had been amputated to show up and prove that they were still amputated.
Mhm.
Right? That they finally stopped making people with amputations prove that their amputation is still there. But here we are with the mental, the amputation of the brain, but we have to still show up and prove that our brain's amputated
Yeah,
over and
right.
over and over again, and people like Phil, he's just he's got physical head trauma. He's been traumatized by methylquin. He does not do well on a good day, and they want him to keep proving that he's not well. And he just can't go in and do it, and so then they
Well,
cancel
and I'm
his pension.
afraid to say if you're actually getting better. So, like, if you're having some, like,
Yeah.
a good month, well, geez, you don't want to tell anyone because you
right.
don't want your benefits to get taken
That's
away.
right.
Well, it's
Yeah.
because you don't want to have to go through the process to start it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, if
Because then
it's
you gotta like get an appointment with your primary to get the referral, to get questioned to like maybe be seen, to get a referral.
yeah. Like I'm just entering the quest to figure my neck out and get the compensation for my neck and stuff.
Just imagine if you couldn't get out of bed some days, or you had difficulty even dressing, shaving, making your food, living from day to day, and someone's going to come in and say, "Okay, now you have to do all this paperwork that you did last year all over again."
Yeah.
You know, and that's what they're doing. Quite literally. Like um, Tim, who was on last time, his doctors have basically stated to Veterans Affairs, "You're forcing this guy to do something that benefits you, but there is no benefit to him. This will hurt his health."
Mhm.
Period. And they had to spell it out for him because they're just too stupid to get it. And I think the reason is they're all administrators. None of them are actual practitioners. They're not licensed to do anything medical. They're just administrators, and they don't give a damn because they just go by the outline, right? But the outline isn't your actual injury. It's not your weaknesses. It's not your impairment. It's not your strengths. It's just something arbitrarily abstract that someone else decides to go on, and they're going to force you to do it no matter what. It's like, where's that in anyone's best interest? It's
Well, and
crazy.
moreover, if they get the diagnosis wrong and you get underdiagnosed or
Yeah,
misdiagnosed completely, especially
or
with
or not
methylquid
or not di-
Like,
or
or
not
not,
diagnosed like Tim.
yeah,
or they write down the wrong number, which goes from you getting like 15% in like a good day
yeah.
to medical retirement.
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
go in and test on a good day and you're flying through shit and they're like, "Oh yeah, here's a 20% disability, I guess." And you're like, "Well, this is not the worst." Like cuz you're not coming in to test on a day you're locked in the couch and you can't unlock your
Yeah.
back or your neck or your hips
But
broken
like,
that day because,
no, like I had to
you slept
dig through
funny.
my report because like my back injury for my compensation retirement
Mhm.
like package was based on this one number essentially, like essentially my flexation or whatever,
Mhm.
and it was like some ridiculous, like I was touching my toes, you know, kind of number, and I was like, there's no way I've been over that far, like at all. I haven't been over that far since I was like 28. Yeah, let alone now.
I can bend over. I can't get back up.
Yeah, I get bent over. I'm just probably falling over.
Yeah.
Like it didn't happen last night whenever I was stretching on the couch.
Well,
John
and
had to come
it's
help me.
it's a hell in a handbag in twofold for two types of people at the same time the same way, and that's a fully disabled person trying to get compensation to survive, or somebody trying to get medical recognition for just to figure out what is going on. Say like for me, like I was fine in my 20s. I was sore for 3 or 4 years, but it took me 15 years before I even found out that I apparently broke my neck in that injury and somehow didn't get paralyzed. And like no
Yeah.
x-rays, no like Didn't touch my neck, didn't touch my shoulder blades or my spine or anything like that. Examined my jaw and whatnot because that's where the impact point was. Gave me some 500 milligram acetaminophen and sent me on my way. And so,
So
and that's how
the
they're
interesting,
treating a major injury.
I
So
mean,
how are
the
they
interesting,
treating everything else?
if you're really hurting, you break open the glass vial and you get a shot and you go night night.
yeah. So the real reality on that though is, he's never going to get better over time. It will only ever get worse,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so the body degrades with age naturally.
Yeah.
Now, when you damage something, that area degrades more rapidly.
That's right.
So it really is simply a matter of time before it becomes a serious debilitating injury. There's no way to know when that's going to occur.
Right.
So you really need to, like, when those injuries occur. And I think this is where a lot of people make the mistake, is that it's like you were saying, Josh, you just sort of brush it off. I'm tougher than that. I'm not going to let this get me down. And that's the first mistake, because the first thing you should have done was really outline everything and check everything, and even do in the Canadian military a CF98, so that, because there's always a possibility that that injury will be worse later down the road.
Right.
And the only thing that links it to getting worse is that CF98, which is very rarely done, but it should be done on everything, especially for people who are injured in service.
Well, I don't
It should be
recall seeing anything in my
automatic.
discharge documents about it. Like, I'm gonna have to dig it hard. Like, I'm gonna have to get like the physical mirror report.
Yeah.
Like,
It's funny that
it's
he
gonna be
couldn't
annoying.
find any of his documents, so he had to go back to the people in his unit and get them to write about that day. To actual proof that that incident happened. So he had to go back to his old unit after like 20 years and find guys that were in and ask them, can you please write about this day?
Really?
So if you can't find anything, just keep that in mind.
Well, it's super simple. I got injured on base by another soldier who thought I was a different soldier. It was the dumbest injury.
Yeah. And that should be in the book. And it doesn't matter how minor it is. The fact that it's there, it's your neck, that's the proof. Right?
And
now you show that that this injury is this many years old, and Bob's your uncle.
well, yeah, and like,
look at this calcification.
Holy cow, man! Like, I'll tell you, after a 6 to 8 hour fire, I was useless the next day. Couldn't look up, couldn't look left and right after all that pressure on my neck. And that easily led to me not being a firefighter anymore. Easily. Which, if I didn't have the neck injury, obviously longevity wouldn't have been an issue.
Holding that pack around in that heat. Yeah,
that didn't hurt. My back wasn't the issue. It was that it's the L3 or C. Yeah, C up top, right? So it's the C3, C4. And I have a genetic fusion between the 4 and 5. So what happened was I got tapped on the shoulder, and when I turned around, I got smoke checked by a dude who thought I was somebody else, and turned my head basically looking around behind me. But, you know, hyper aggressive infantry dude, immediately snapped myself forward, and like it was like dislocated and then relocated in the same sort of motion. And now I have 2 vertebrae that are just sideways. And
that's why they call C4 an explosive. I'm sorry.
Oh man.
Civilians may not get that, but every military person's not.
I have a CF98 from CAF in 2007 for rubbish fire smoke. Fire smoke exposure, no use yet. Hopefully no need to use. See, protons, that's good. See, I have the firefighter background too, so I've got the lung cancer, every cancer box checked, because were you ever a firefighter? Yep, here you go. My very first fire was a gas station that tried to explode. And actually it did. We had to bring in bulldozers to put that one out. Yeah. That was a crazy fire. But yeah, holy cow. the amount of things that you get exposed to in training, let alone everywhere else, full deployments, being
Yeah.
inoxulated for malaria and whatnot with experimental drugs that with known side effects, and all the way up to worser things, which I think is a dereliction of duty and is a chargeable offense, which is not investigating criminal charges properly. But then also at the same time, another offense exists by re-exposing the victim to the same trauma over and over. It's a completely avoidable situation, and that should result in a benefit. Like that should be very, very actionable, I think.
But it
I've
almost
been
seems like
advocating for the critical injury benefit to become something that they pay out for any sexual assault harassment survivor, because the psychological injury I feel is just as bad as a physical injury.
Oh, 100%.
And I tried to compel them that like it would be some way to acknowledge the harm done. So I got a letter from the last minister saying they were going to look at it and reword the language, but there's been no talk about it since.
Well, and it's
yeah,
so different than a
these
physical crime, right? It's an
no,
emotional, mental
it's like
crime.
anything else. Like Anand took over the Ministry of Defense, their Veterans Affairs, and excuse me, National Defense is the minister, and she's going to end all the sexual assault, and she's going to fix this problem, she's going to fix that problem. She was there 6 months, she was gone, nothing's been corrected, nothing's been changed. Every time they open their mouths to say they're going to look at something and fix it, you can tell they're lying because their lips are moving. The reality is they are never going to do anything unless we are in a position of power where if they fail to do it, they lose not just their job but their reputations, and that's how you get policy change, is to literally put them into a point where they're going to be embarrassed if they fail to act. That's all
That's
that's
what
left.
I like. After all these years, like I used to be embarrassed when people would be like, "Are you on the cover of Maclean's and stuff?" And now I own it as like a timestamp in history they can't deny. So they can't say they didn't know, because that's out there. It's been out there for almost 26 years, and so they can't say we didn't know.
Yeah,
that's right. It's front
they're
page.
not allowed to
Like,
deny it. Yeah,
they're guilty of benign neglect because they could have done something all these years and they chose not to.
What year was that, Don? That
When I was
McLean?
in Maclean's, it was 98.
So 98, and here we are in 2024. Nothing has been done.
No.
Nothing has been changed. Not a single policy is in place to prevent the bullshit and crap that Don had to go through.
Well, and I was reading through, because I do like 2 chapters at a time, because your book is very emotionally driven. So I like to take my time and really sort of absorb the content, especially if I'm going to be talking about it in this format later. I really want to I read the chapter a couple times before I move on, just so I know it. And
right.
And when I read Don's part in the book, I was like, whoa, this was 20 years ago, but my sister just went through this in the last series. My stepsister is an Afghan war vet, deployed twice, I believe, and can't even talk to me today because I'm so pro forces because of the trauma she endured in the ending of her career with the forces. And similar thing, command sweeping misconduct under the rug to the point where it allowed it to happen again to a worser extent. And that's unacceptable, especially it's not like you're a bunch of teenagers working a drive-through and everybody's grab-assing each other. It's a professional work environment for the combat force of a nation. And you're expecting, at the very least, the officers and senior NCOs to be professional beyond a reasonable doubt. I was just immediately Steph, we need to have this lady on the show if you don't mind, hear the story and talk about it, because it's a topic that's risque, of course, especially for podcasts, but it's something that needs to be kept in the open so it's not risque. It needs to be able to be talked about freely.
That's what when you get comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations, then people around you are more apt to be themselves and not hide who they truly are.
Exactly.
It's like one of the things we were trying to set up to do right before I left. My second to last command was actually having the command like practice routing, you know, each kind of report, so it's not like brand new to them if they had to do it. Just so they were more comfortable, doing it, or
Like different
if it
situations.
needed to be done, it wasn't the first time. They don't have to, call the wrong person to ask what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, it seems that
Paper
the people
drills.
who make the decisions are referred to as experts because they have a credential.
Right.
But the expertise is actually in a modality, right? So, for example, let's say I was, beat the shit out of them. So my self-esteem is gone, and there's nothing left of me. And I go in and I see a counselor. The counselor, he specializes in EMDR and some kind of psychosomatic response thingamajiggy. So the only thing he's going to treat me with is what he's proficient at.
Mm-hmm.
But the nature of my injury, right, may not respond to those particular modalities.
That's right.
Right, but they don't evaluate whether or not my injury is responding to that modality. They just simply assume that it becomes treatment resistant if it doesn't.
Right.
Right. So now we have, quote, treatment resistant PTSD, even though there are 18,000 Naflquin veterans in the Canadian military, which around 7,000 have PTSD diagnosis that shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, but so the problem is actually in the experts, right? So even with like with Don, with the groups that are now, quote, experts in helping to on the peer support side of things, you have to have a credential. You have to be a doctor or something, or you have to be, a psychotherapist.
Definitely not an
or
ordinary seaman.
yeah, you can't
They
be
want to
someone
be
who
like
actually.
general, colonel, something.
Yeah, like you cannot be the person who actually survived it, recovered, and is doing something about it.
Yeah.
Right? That's not acceptable because you'll actually know what to make a change on. Whereas these other, quote, so-called experts have no idea what to change because they're just focused on using the mentalities that they spent a few $100,000 to.
Or funding. They want funding, so I don't
Or they
fit
want
into their
funding. Yeah.
funding model.
Yeah.
yeah, it's because the like measured results. It's like they want to figure out, okay, well, how can we change something, but we need to be able to measure it so that we can say we changed something. So something has to fit within this mold now. That way we can say
Yeah.
that we changed something.
Yeah.
And yet,
It's got to be
if they,
quantifiable.
It's like the double-sided card of, we need the laws for the protection, but then the laws get in the way of the protections.
Yeah.
So what would happen if you took the next victim and put them with Dawn, or put them with me, or with Zach, or with Josh, right? And did peer support and walk them through, just like you were saying earlier, having someone, walking someone through, but who's actually been there, experienced it firsthand. Wouldn't that make a huge difference? Like I think it would. I
It
think that would make
would,
a
and then at
phenomenal
the same
difference.
time, like, this is how fucked up my situation is because in my triple course I had a civilian attaché, and he was the doing all the like extracurricular training. So hey, if you want to sign up for CPR, if you want to do this, if you want to do that, you can stay on base for the weekend and make extra money and do this and that. And he was an airborne guy who got injured early in his career, like super early. So this is how he wanted to contribute to the Army moving forward. And I was like, the whole time I was like, man, I sure hope that doesn't happen to me. I sure hope that doesn't happen to me. And literally like 2 weeks later, after I was done his course, I was on another course, and that's where I got injured. And I'm like, and he said it every single day, 3 times a day. If you get injured, report it. Don't end up like me. blah blah blah, you know, and he was like in your face in real time while you're in basic training, still right over your head. And whether it's it was 100% chosen, of course, for pride and whatever reason. And now that the injuries are starting to become very noticeable in later years, you know,
I think
it's starting to become a bigger
the way
deal.
that we're gonna get like some of these like physical injuries like actually and these other injuries actually like documented and taken care of like when they happen is to actually slow everything down,
Yeah.
right? Because that's like because everybody's like, oh well, it's just like we were busy, we couldn't do it, we had to leave, we didn't have time, and it's like there's a certain point where it's like, well, we're holding off on some of the wrong things right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're pushing too hard.
Yeah, there's always a panic to get someone back into the job and back to work,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to taking the time to ensure that they return 100% and remain that way. And that part of that is it's not the divisional reporting system, but it's the stressors put on the command to have everyone accounted for and deployable, right? Because you have to have your force ready to deploy at all times.
Yeah.
And if someone's off recovering for 2 weeks, then they're not deploying, right? So it's like, you got to get back to work sooner, right? So that way you can still deploy.
It's 50%
that's why
that and
that's why you need
50%
everybody on
failure
board
to
all the time.
identify. Sorry, Zach, go ahead.
And that's why you need everybody on board all the time.
Yeah.
So you can't have people, taking the time off for leave, because they haven't had a day off in, I don't know how long.
Well, it's the age-old, do I ignore this subordinate's injury or sickness so that I don't have to replace them today, tomorrow, or for the next month, so that I can suit my objective? Like, I guarantee you in every single facet from, I'm going to use the drive-through attendant crew, all the way up to the crack-ass JTF2 Special Forces, still no fatalities, by the way. Get some. And every single one of them has that instance where they're like, do I need to ignore this sickness and or injury in order to achieve my mission? When it's mission critical, that's when it's obviously, you're in wherever the hell you're in, you're achieving an objective. You can't have the time to feel the broken leg and if you want to achieve your goal. But that being said, when you're the injured person, all of you included, going to your chain of command saying, I've been injured and or obviously accosted in a certain way, as the victim, as the survivor or the injured party, you're spending all your energy not feeling the pain of that injury. So you're already completely compromised. You can't really think for yourself because you are injured. Especially if you don't know you're injured. That's, And so it's on these people's shoulders to, as Zach said, slow it down and actually investigate the problem. The issue is that they're just slapping a bandage on it and sending you out. Like, shit, I went back into the field for 2 weeks with a broken neck. Still wear your helmet, you'll be fine. You're all right. I'm like, but
How much time did you spend in a doctor's office on average, Josh?
I was there for 30 minutes and I was waiting for 20 of it.
Yeah. So 10 minutes in the office.
10
is that
minutes.
Sufficient?
Touch.
Is that
touch
really
the
truly
forehead.
sufficient time to investigate an injury fully?
No.
And the answer to that, of course, is no.
Not at all.
Right. And there's your first problem, is that whenever you do go and whenever you are evaluated, you've got maybe 5 to 10 minutes to make sure that everything's documented fully, and it's not enough time.
Well, if you've got a fresh serviceman, like under the rank of corporal, I would say, a high likeliness that that serviceman or woman is bleeding green or blue, and they're going to be in front of a captain going, yes, sir, right away, sir. Like, I'm not hurt. I don't know what you're talking about, sir. Like, we're good. Like, I'm good to go, sir. Like,
Oh.
you know, like, just put me back in, coach. We're set. We're good to go. That's how we're built. Like, this is why we recruit young people to the forces.
And that's
You
where
know?
it needs to be a drill, so that when you are injured, then there is a drill that is performed surrounding your injuries, which makes sure that everything is, you know, addressed
Yeah.
in all aspects, right? And whether that, you know, it shouldn't matter whether it's physical or non-physical. It's the same protocol.
Well, and when it's noticeable, like to your section, your platoon, and anybody sort of in and around your like operating radius, like not necessarily, it should obviously be noticeable to the friggin' doctor who quote unquote examines you, or any of the medical staff that lead up into
But
that point,
you
but
got-
it's
you
not
gotta get there
necessarily.
first.
But when it's glowingly obvious to like your battle buddy, your section commander, your 2IC, your platoon commander, they're all like what happened to you last weekend? Because you're a different soldier today. If they have that moment, that's probably your sort of red flag to anybody maybe in the services or looking to investigate one of their own issues. Jump on it then. You know, if you've got
Yeah,
other
get it
people
on.
saying something, do it. Like the only reason I finally considered it was because Stefan was like, Josh, just do it. Like you're fucking injured. Go. Quit being so proud and go.
Well, that's okay. You know, someone had to do that to me for several years before I went and dealt with it as well. You know, and that's where, you know, someone like Don, myself, you, or Zach, you know, have been through something, been injured.
Mm-hmm.
That's who should be bringing someone else through it. It's because we know, right, that if we don't take care of these things, we're going to pay for it later, and
Yeah.
so we need to deal with it now. And in Canada, especially if you're in Canadian military, you know, you must learn CF98, and every time something occurs, you should be filling one out, because that's what's going to save everyone's ass down the road, especially your own.
I'm fairly
You know,
sure
it's
I
just
have
that.
one because I know I signed paperwork before they gave me my little orange pills, but like
Mhm.
nothing was in my discharge documents about it.
I hope they did a 98 on you, because if they did,
That would be awesome.
wow, hands down, it's a victory.
It's ringing a bell. Like I logged into VAC, and so I started that process. Like basically
Yeah.
just requesting all of my. It's the same portal as the recruitment, ironically. No, kind of weird, but
Well, and not only do you have an injury, you were assaulted, basically.
yeah, by another soldier. It was so funny
Right.
too because the look of
So,
anger and shock that that soldier displayed because he thought I was somebody else, and then realized it was me. And I was the course senior at the time, so he fucked up and got fire watch for the next week and a half till I was not course senior anymore, which he did. Yeah, I gave him medal shift too.
2
You're
to
at,
4.
you're at 1:30 in the morning, baby. 1:30 in the morning. You're on.
I got punched in that. I got punched in a breathing mask one day by a Master Chief.
Oof.
Kept laughing at him because they put these like shower caps over us to like you know, obstruct the view.
Yeah, the smoke training.
Yeah, so he's like, you know, we got light covers and everything. He's like, we go all out, you know.
Hmm.
'Cause turns out, you know, firing on a submarine's bad.
Yeah, as it
Uh,
were.
And
I still
I'm
think
like
you're
sitting there,
nuts. Absolutely nuts.
first, I'm like, haha, I can still see you. So he like puts another one on. I'm like, still see you. So he like puts like 4 or 5 on. I'm like, still see you. He's like, can you see this? Bam! That's whenever the pin fell out of the CO2 bottle and
Oh,
discharged.
and now it's a real drill. Yay!
First,
Hey, non-breathable gas in a confined space. Let's go. Way to go, Chief. That's awesome. Yeah, no, if
we're in
anybody
port, it's
doesn't know,
fine.
Goodfella's a crazy type of Navy person. He gets on a confined tube and goes hundreds of feet below the surface for months at a time for some reason. Like, I just never gonna. And you know what's? I was texting Goodfella a couple weeks ago, and Goodfella will know when I'm on like a crazy ass submarine YouTube journey because I'll like text him randomly at night, be like, "You're fucking nuts," just randomly. And he'd be like, watching more, watching more submarine catastrophes and shit. I'm like,
Right.
how?
Okay.
How? Why would you volunteer to do that? Oh my god.
So
Well, I know I've said that on this before, but Das Boot was I love that movie.
I was seeing the simplified history of Das Food was really really cool looking, and I'm waiting for it to come up on Netflix here. Usually,
Mm.
a lot of the World War II stuff pops up right before the summer.
Operation Petticoat.
Right,
Where
you
it's
were
at.
saying that.
Yes, I remember that something about that one too. Pink Submarine was it or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna beat down Periscope. I'm sorry. Best submarine documentary ever, because you know the crews are like
It's real life.
that. Don, what made you join the Navy?
I wanted to be a medic, but it wasn't open, and the recruiter at the recruiting station was actually a naval signalman. And he told me that I could swim in the ocean with sharks, so someone had a weapon to shoot them. And I was like, I'm in.
Yes,
True
who
story.
wouldn't be?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That happens in the
And so
Caribbean.
I
That's
became a naval
nuts.
signalman.
We just put our best gunner up, our best shot up in the sail. He's on Shark Watch.
That's nuts.
Just the dude
And
from
that,
Texas.
yeah.
Yeah, all the guys from Texas.
I don't even know why. I only picked naval signalman because of him and the stories he told me. So, and it opened up. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going. So
So that was
I got fed like authentic red beans and rice from like some Haitian cooks.
I was on the
that's what drew you to
Gatineau.
the Navy.
Is that-
Pardon?
So that's what drove you to the Navy was the like cultural food you got to eat around the place.
Yeah, because they said I would get better food.
Oh, yeah, no, they lied.
They
How
like
was the
you.
food? How was the food in our Navy, Don?
I actually, we got fed really well.
I was just gonna
Like,
say, I was always told Navy got just fed so well, like so well.
mhm. Yeah,
We
like on
did.
ship at night, we would have a big snack bar, so you could go get like, you could go make toast and have toast and peanut butter. Or there's like always a whole big thing of fruit. So like, cause I lived on ship for 3 months, and at night you could just go down there and get like lots of. It was a good.
I got
It
to
was the
do.
best of my life and the best time and the worst time of my life.
I was always at Meaford, like the month before ARC would happen, the Area Reserve Training Center would like occur. So Tent City would appear, but I would be there for like an entire month beforehand, so I'd get spoiled and get used to eating in the barracks in the mess hall and like or sleeping in the barracks and eating in the mess hall, being able to go over to the mess when I wanted at night. It's like, all right, this is fucking great. 45 days go by and it's just like, okay, we're moving you to a tent and you're eating in a field field kitchen for the rest of the summer. It's just like, son of a bitch. It's not comparable. And it was so funny because the Navy dudes and dudettes would come through and they would be appalled. They'd be like, what is this? Like, we're supposed to eat
You got
this.
quite the dancer over there, Zach.
Oh yeah, I blame the army.
I would too.
It's 2-on-2. We've got Army and Navy right now. We're good.
You got your special forces over here.
I got a stacked deck on my side.
But you got the deadly medic in the back over here.
Oh yeah,
Oh, man.
that's funny. Well, we're at about 10-15 minutes left in the show. If there's anything you all want to talk about moving forward, any cool initiatives you're behind, or if you have a veteran-owned and operated business you want to talk about, anything like that, open floor. I know
I've
we've-
always got to
done.
GoFundMe for new farm equipment.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Hey, you just come on down. Give me a check. We need a barn. They could also fit my RV and my tractor.
If you want, I'll go in on cows with you. I'd buy cows with you.
Oh, dude, I don't have enough. I only got 3 acres. I don't have enough for like
Just
enough
a
head of
couple
cow to make it
cows.
worth it.
We'll get some American Wagyus, raise them.
Oh, also, that American Wagyu. Well, that's the only way to go with that American Wagyu.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Tasty, it's cheap, it's cost effective, it's more expensive than Angus. Such good meat. I don't like the
Longhorns
A5.
here.
Yeah, well, that's Angus, right? Longhorns? Or the Wagyu Longhorn? I'm talking meat.
We just get them both, and we'll just.
You want to breed an Angus?
We'll get some beef Wagyus.
I was gonna say get a buffalo and a Wagyu and turn them into one. We'll call it the beefalo.
Dude, like, well, no, beefalo is a thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Of course it is. You Americans are nuts.
My granddad used to have beefalo on his land.
Actual beefalo. That's really funny.
Well,
I'm sure we've got it somewhere in
Alberta.
Alberta.
Can't eat buffalo anymore, you know.
Yeah, you can. We got buffalo herds in Alberta.
Well,
We got some here in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they're coming back hard, actually. Bison. They're like they just live forever, dude. Like through anything, not forever, but they live through anything. Much hardier than real cow.
Oh yeah.
Unless you're down in the south.
They just almost didn't survive us.
Well,
yeah.
It makes you kind of wonder why they didn't just herd, the bison and buffalo, and why they had to bring in the European cow.
I would have to say
North
because of
America.
these guys up here on my top right, I think Goodfella is. Yeah. I think they started hunting buffalo with miniguns when they invented the Gatling gun at West. That would be a partial reason why.
We
45 caliber hand crank hunting
ran
rifle.
them like almost into extinction. Like single country ran them into extinction.
Oh yeah. It was 100%.
Oh, just over.
The Americans came up here to get the rest that ran away. I was like, there was border wars forever on that. Because like, what was the?
Like, nothing was set up for like the mass herding of cattle yet over here.
Well, it's Montana. That border.
It was like, oh well, these are just here. Let's just take these. Don't even have to do anything.
It's the whole reason we had to march the RCMP out west is to like stop Americans from stealing our beef. Straight up.
What's for dinner, bro?
I am really hungry after that conversation. I'm not gonna lie. I could definitely use a steak.
We had a lamb roast for lunch. It was pretty nice.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's sweet. I had a cup of soup and some toast for lunch, so I'm thinking it's gonna be a good supper. What about y'all? What are your plans for this coming week?
We're going to go out to the oldest boy's place. He's got a nice setup in his backyard, patio and fireplace.
Sweet.
There's no lights, and I mean, we don't have to worry about lights anyways because it's going to be daytime. But we're going to barbecue. It's going to be on the open stove. We're going bacon, and then we're going to dip the bacon into pancake mix. We're going to fry that up and then dip that into some maple syrup and sit around and watch the eclipse tomorrow. That's the job.
That sounds amazing. That sounds absolutely amazing. Yeah. I've got a haircut tomorrow, and all I'm going to do is try not to look up, and we're good.
Yeah, look. Like, I guess, like, unluckily, I'm in kind of an off week, so catching up on admin. But I get to avoid, like, not flying through Dallas on the day of, like, an eclipse.
Well, that's always good.
Like, totality, you know.
Did you see what's happening in Niagara Falls with, like, the room prices and whatnot? Like, the average room price was, like, $200 to $300 but now they're like, oh, it's like $5,000 for a room.
Bro, I saw like Burlington, Vermont was like on the list, and like they're saying like Airbnbs went up like 1,000%.
Yeah,
Well, someone
You know,
else a year ago they got bumped.
I was thinking about
What do you mean?
the room that I had whenever I was there, seeing a customer,
Hmm.
and I was like, wow, that room is probably going for a nice price right now because it was like corner windows. I was like, yeah.
What's the rules on an eclipse? Like, how do you look at that?
So unless you're in totality, you have to have glasses on to look at it.
Unless you're in total darkness?
Yeah, total
Or
and
a
it's
welding
only
mask.
what's that?
Or a welding mask.
Yeah,
Oh,
welding masks.
okay.
Like you have to have some sort of glasses, like to shield your eyes and unless you're in total totality of darkness.
To which during the day you can't be. So,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, because
that's
the problem is that the intensity of the light will burn your retina, right, and leaving you
yeah.
blind.
really?
So you can't have that intense a light shining or looking like going straight in your eyes. And there's no pain sensors, so it's not like you're gonna feel something.
Yeah, you just black out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. But there is a path where you can you are able to look at it because there's no light at all. And that's why those room prices are so high. It's because they're on that path of total darkness where you can take your glasses off while it's passing over.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's gonna like block out the sun completely?
Yeah.
And the entire world is
There's
focused on this right now and none of the war is going on.
no, so
Huh.
I mean, so this happens I
This is
think
not
every
good.
18 months,
I was
but it
gonna say,
depends
this
on where
isn't a
you
new thing.
are. Because last time it went over the United States, but it was crossways.
Hmm.
There is actually a couple towns where it's crossing over, so they're having this astronomical odds of having two totalities at all, or having a totality at all, having two totalities, and having two totalities back to back
Right.
is just insane. Like the amount of t-shirts that you guys have are just crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, there's just some weird ass vibes in 2024, and I keep saying that ever since COVID. Like, oh, next year it's gonna get better. It's gonna be less weird and less creepy of the society moving forward. But you know what? It's not.
But
It's not. I am 100% okay to find an awesome girl and have a few kids and get some land and a barn and some cows and call it. Cause
Hey, this doesn't start Ramadan, does it?
what?
Is that already started?
I don't know.
think it's already started.
Yeah, I thought that was last week. It
Already
started,
started.
didn't it?
January, February. Mhm.
Yeah, because it's in based on the moon, right?
It's
Which
a new
moon?
moon,
Okay.
which is why we're
Yeah.
having the eclipse.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, with a war going on, yeah, in the Middle East, I'm sure it's perfectly fine.
Oh, and of course my mom decides like this is the week she's gonna go to Turkey. God damn it. I'm like,
I mean, that's a solid choice for a Sammy. You know?
not so much a country. I'm like, Mom, you're going where? And she's like, oh, I'm like, I'm thinking she's gonna go to Portugal or she set something up. She's a holistic like sound bath healer.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Sweet.
It's interesting. And
I'm
but
into that kind of stuff.
yeah, okay, so you know about it. But
Yeah.
she loves it, and she's got a really cool community going on. She's went away for a couple months to Portugal, and then she calls me all excited. She's like, "I'm going away for a couple more months, and you're never gonna guess where." And I'm thinking, "Oh, like Italy or something cool now, right?" She's like, "Turkey." I'm just like dialing my friends that I know who are like still combat qualified. Like, are you doing anything? We might need to go on a plane here and find my mom in a foreign country because like
If I was going to have a bad choice to have a sandwich right now,
yeah, like that's an awful bad choice. Good sandwich, bad choice.
right?
She's like, well, it's not that close to any bad countries. I'm like, it's directly next to every single actually. bad country that we've regarded as a quote-unquote bad country for like, I don't know, 38 crusades and counting. It's only been 2,000 years. Hey, whatever.
It can't be much
So,
longer.
it's only been 2,000 years of the exact same thing happening in that sector of the world. But hey, for this recorded
Wasn't that in Monty
generation.
Python?
It was a Monty Python joke. Thank you. Oh, I watched Holy Grail the other day. It was so good. So good. Well, folks, that is your episode of Vet Chat. I want to thank Stefan and Don and Zach for joining me for this episode. that was good. That was a lot of. I got a bunch of really good clips out of that. Really good talking points. And Don, I'd love to have you back for a follow-up episode if you're down. And what we can do is we'll get some discussions going in the Discord over some of the clips and get some shit flowing. Like, the more we can keep these types of topics in the open, the better. You know, and everybody affected is affecting change. There we go. Words.
And then you gotta be the change.
Exactly. Don, leave us with some words of wisdom before we say goodbye.
When I changed the way I looked at things, everything I looked at in my life changed. So I started to see that no matter what had happened to me, it made me me. And I'm pretty badass most days, so I have to be grateful for everything that's happened to me, good or bad.
I love it. That's a hell of a soundbite. I love it. Zach, what about you, brother? You got some last words for us before we say goodbye?
Always try to remember some things are important. Some things are actually important. And just because the answer is no doesn't mean the answer isn't better.
I like that.
Right.
I can empathize with that statement through and through. Brother Stefan, some words of wisdom.
I got to follow up words of wisdom after those two? No. That's not how it works. No.
You go up, you don't go down.
Keep digging. We'll dig our way out. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Vet Chat. Satchel and shotgun to the guy who was repairing. He looked at me while I was satcheling him.